Alright, we are back with part 2 of our European RMR A coverage here on the channel. It is I, your friendly neighborhood sleep-deprived recap man, here to conclude our saga, tell you more about the remaining teams who are going to make the qualification, and talk a little bit about those teams who failed to do so. In a nutshell, we're going to be talking about who could secure those 5 remaining qualification spots. And if you want my thoughts on the first half of this RMR, you can do so at the link above. You can also check on my channel as the video uploaded literally right before this one if you want to go ahead and get caught up first before finishing this video. Anyways, Mouse and Vitality have already found a spot in the elimination stage. Let's not waste any more time and see who is going to be joining them. Make sure you guys take a second and leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, so thank you for doing so. Also, the RMR B for Europe is literally starting tonight. No rest for the weary or the wicked. If you want to come watch me co-stream the event live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2, you should do so. It's been a very fun time streaming and talking with you guys as the games go long into the night. So hopefully you'll come check me out over there. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about these games. Thankfully, no more best of ones. We were just talking about full, complete, hot, nasty series all the way to the very end. Our team coming in 3rd place in the RMR, to the shock of absolutely nobody, is going to be NAVI. After their mild slip-up against Mouse in the previous day, they made short work of Saw in a quick 2-0 series. Saw are a team we're going to touch on towards the end of this video as one of the teams who didn't make it, but NAVI really weren't phased whatsoever, no pun intended. On the opening map, Nuke, NAVI looked firmly in control of the momentum throughout the game, though Saw definitely gave them some things to worry about. Saw are definitely one of the better Nuke teams honestly in the world, especially at their peak back during Cologne, where they actually did beat this NAVI team on this map. And here, you still see glimpses of that, and a lot of that boils down to the fact that Mutira, Story, and Ujurx run a really good system on the map. Ujurx and Story are honestly 2 very excellent players. Ujurx, I think, could even crack into like a top 20 conversation depending on how you want to shake that one out. So a lot of Saw success comes off the back of those 2. It is definitely confusing to see Saw in this state where dropping Aristos and Barry so close to the major really seems to have affected them in a great way. And honestly, there were moments where I think they could have struck out and taken this map off of NAVI, but if they were going to do any damage on this series, it was only going to be on Nuke, where they're more of a specialist. Everywhere else in the series, NAVI were clearly the better team, and just for a point of fact of that, there was a round deep into the second half, round 16, where Saw were in a position where they should win this round every time. It's a 4v2, JL and Emma are still alive, but JL just goes God mode and helps elevate NAVI to a win out of nowhere, and you know that one had to hurt. To their credit, Saw did manage to have a late CT side rally, but how much of that is really due to just the CT side nature of Nuke, I'll leave you to decide. Overall, once again, NAVI didn't feel seriously pressured, they were calm and in control, and they take the 1-0 map lead, going into Ancient, where they utterly decimated Saw. I mean, full-on Coffee Baby versus Atomic Bomb levels of destruction here, 13-2. There was nothing the Saw defense could do to prevent NAVI from just taking whatever map control they wanted. Bit leading the way with 20 kills, a 2.11 rating, and 119 ADR. The headshot machine alive and well as usual. And yeah, not surprised that NAVI beat Saw. I think that's just the reality of what Saw are dealing with right now. It sucks to see them in such a weird spot. But again, NAVI were the best team in the world. Even if this was Cologne level Saw, I don't think they're beating NAVI. Qualifying right behind them are their old competitors from said previous major final. It's time to phase the fuck up, gamers, because Faze are making it to the Shanghai major, to the shock of honestly nobody. If you really thought Faze were gonna fuck up here, I really think you were over exaggerating how badly Faze have been playing, and I should know because I watch all these goddamn games and you just watch me remind you of the games you didn't watch from my memory, so I know more than you, okay? Anyways, it was clear in this field Faze were going to qualify at some point. If they drew literally any other 2-0 matchup out of the bracket other than Vitality, they might already be there. Instead, they had to drop down and play one more series against Fnatic, whom I do have a lot of positive things to talk about once we get to them later on in this video. But in this series, Faze simply took care of work. Very much a good day in the office for the Faze boys, 13-5 on Anubis and then 13-8 on Ancient. The big thing here, one, Rain continues to have a genuinely excellent tournament. Rain is like a top 10 player at this event. He leads the event in headshot percentage. Rain is just one of those guys. He is a major riser. He's always going to be inconsistent tournament to tournament, but Rain turns up at majors. That's what he's done throughout his entire career. And trust me, he's been to a lot of majors. But also, right behind Rain, ropz had a great series, and that's the difference maker for Faze. ropz is the star. He needs to be the #1 guy. And in a game like this, he played like the #1 guy. And even with Brokey or Frozen or Kerrigan having their limits individually, if ropz can play to his strengths and do it well, Faze can compete. Faze can be a threat in this tournament. We all know this. I'm just glad to see it. For Fnatic, they were just outmatched. They didn't get a very good game out of Knock, which is definitely going to hold them back. But both BlameF and Maddie continued to be excellent, which is why, of course, Fnatic do end up qualifying in the end, just not right now. Our next team to qualify into the major. You all owe me an apology. They called me crazy. You all doubted me. They said it couldn't be done, that they were washed up, that Axile couldn't do it, that this team wasn't good enough, that it was a pug team. Well, where are your takes now, dickhead? Because guess what? Cloud9 are in the fucking major. Woo! God, it feels good to be right. I feel so justified in everything I've ever said. Bubblesj, I will never, ever stop being your biggest defender. You go forward, you glorious king. HeavyGod has been an incredible pickup. Icy had incredible moments throughout this tournament where he looked like a truly elite level opper. And then, you know, interns, Axile, they did their jobs. They weren't dreadful. They had their individual moments. Inters had some great moments on Dust 2 down the stretch against the Sinners. They did their work. Now listen, I will admit, it was not the cleanest way out. Sinners really gave Cloud9 an honest to God run for their money. And Sinners, for their own right, had some really good aspects throughout this tournament, despite the fact that Oscar is 37,000 years old. But he's still doing it. He's like LeBron, just, you know, not the greatest player of all time, but I mean, he's old and still competing. Anyways, Icy, man, what a breakout series for him here against the Sinners, which put Cloud9 into the major. I mean, he starts off on Mirage, 27 kills, a lights out game from him. He had that insane 1v4 clutch on the end of the first half where he's trapped on the B site. You think all hope is lost, the time is running down, and he just deletes the remaining Sinners players. So accurate, so fast. Just again, dude, these Eastern European oppers, we just get them all the time. I don't know what the deal is with this region, but they just produce so much good young talent. And what's nice about this from Cloud9 is that obviously HeavyGod is normally their second most important piece, right up there with Icy, and he had an awful game, but Cloud9 rolled with the punches. They adapted. They made sure that they were stronger everywhere else they needed to be. Bubblesj himself, as the leader, had a bunch of great impact rounds on the T side where he was just throwing himself in first and creating an opening for his teammates. On the CT side, they did a really good job of neutralizing the side takes from the Sinners and forced them into awkward positions, and Interns and Axile in this first game were both excellent. Now, in the second map on Vertigo, they lose this one pretty convincingly, 13-9. This was the best map from Sinners that I honestly saw from them the whole tournament. Beastick led the way with 23 kills. He had great impact on the T side all over the place. Oscar was also equally excellent, and it is like preternatural the fact that Oscar is this old and still this fast and this efficient with the op in his hands. He's just one of those guys. Like, his talent is so excellent that it just doesn't seem to fade that much with age. The game he plays is just that consistent. Yeah, he's not going to be like a first ballot CS Hall of Famer or anything, but he's like right at the top of that like hall of very good class of players. He's just been an excellent opper for so long. It's just remarkable. For Cloud9, it was a lot of tough rounds down the stretch on their CT side that kind of let them down. They allowed Sinners to take the bomb sites a little too easily, and just the clutches didn't really seem to go their way. But on the bright side, they got a bounce back performance out of HeavyGod. Icy stayed excellent, though honestly it feels like Vertigo as a map is just limited in terms of opper impact, so he wasn't out of control like he was previously. And again, Bubblesj, as an in-game leader, not doing terribly, still hovering at a 1.0 rating, getting 16 kills. Like, dude, getting 16 kills out of your IGL is just more than you can ask for out of a lot of teams. Anyways, as a Cloud9 defender, I was definitely sweating things out as we moved into the decider on Dust 2, but honestly, this may be a very close game, for sure. Cloud9 found themselves at 1 point down 10-5, but then they just turned a new leaf, and suddenly HeavyGod came online, everything clicked into place. They won 8 out of the last 9 rounds, including their last 4 CT wins, all being bomb site retakes into defuses, which is definitely hairy, but at the same time, they made it work. they were able to stop Sinners from winning post-plant situations, which on Dust 2 is no easy feat. And again, Heavy God was electric on the CT half. They continued to try him at B over and over again, and he was just up to the task, whether he was doing it with the pistol, the rifle, or even the op. They busted out a great double op setup later down the half with Icy roaming around A, Heavy God anchoring on B. That was really excellent. That worked out really great. Inters had a really memorable spray transfer re-entry into the B side as Heavy God went down on one round. That was an awesome moment. And Cloud9, they just got a hold of the momentum, and Sinners faded down the stretch. That's just the reality. And even though Sinners had the lead going so late into this game, I was confident Cloud9 were going to pull this out, simply because over the whole series, despite losing on Vertigo, I think Cloud9 were the better team. They played like the better team. There were just a bunch of rounds that Sinners managed to make work for them, basically take rounds that otherwise, if you replay the round over and over, I don't think they would win in the end. Anyways, point is, me and Mally Snake are the smartest two people in the history of the world. We saw through the tea leaves that Cloud9 were going to make it, and everybody doubted us, but we were correct today. The weird part is that because of the boot hole system, which I think everyone just agrees is bad at this point, Cloud9 were in the major, but they weren't necessarily like free of having to play another game. Depending on how the seeding went between them, Faze, and one other team, I believe, they would have to play the 4th place decider match to decide who's going to the elimination stage or the opening stage. And while being able to skip the opening stage is definitely important, for the sake of brevity and time, I'm just going to kind of skim through this series because neither team were at risk of anything here. It was pretty much whoever wins only stood to gain. This is also one of those weird series where each map was honestly a bit of a blowout. Faze with the opener on Mirage 13-6, and then Cloud9 had it right back 13-7 on Ancients, and then on Inferno, Faze once again closed it out quite dominantly 13-6. Unfortunately for Cloud9, while Robs and Rain both once again maintained their excellent form throughout the series, Icy was unfortunately missing. This was his worst series so far in the event. It came at a pretty unopportune time. He was totally missing on Mirage. He was okay on Ancient when Cloud9 stomped out that win, but he was also just kind of okay on Inferno. Overall, a very middling series for him, where I believe he was vying to be one of the top rated players at the event if he had maintained his performance. Heavy God was excellent on all 3 maps regardless of outcome, and Axile had a good series overall too. It just feels like Faze have this team's number. Obviously, Faze won the opening best of 1 against Cloud9 too, so in all of their matches throughout the RMR, Faze came out on top. And again, for Faze, Robs and Rain were excellent, Frozen was also great, Brokey didn't bleed out rounds unnecessarily, so Faze make it to the elimination stage, Cloud9 now to go to the opening stage, which is what they did back at Copenhagen, where they dominated the opening stage before making the playoffs. So listen, all I'm saying, the script is in, the Cloud9 maxi must continue, Cloud9 are going to dominate the opening stage, make a playoff run, you heard it here first. Alright, next up, capturing one of the last 2 remaining spots in this RMR is Fnatic. And I'm pleasantly surprised the Fnatic made it through, because honestly, there was a little bit of a moment where I was like, oh, Fnatic are going to find a way to mess this up. Things were definitely getting interesting, but they pulled it out in the end. They made themselves look good, honestly, throughout this tournament, and I'm glad Fnatic are making it back to the major, as I do believe they missed in Copenhagen. And if I just Google that really quick, I can go ahead and put it on screen, so that way I look like a smart person who does research in their videos, and yeah, no, they didn't. Anyways, after losing to Faze in that series earlier, Fnatic dropped down and had to win an elimination match against Eclot. And Eclot were a team that I expected Fnatic to have no trouble dealing with, and to open up this series, I figured that was going to be the case when Fnatic absolutely dumpstered them on Ancient. Again, this is one of those games that I got to co-stream live, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ, come hang out please. And I thought for sure this was going to be a very swift, very fast 2-0, because this Ancient was pitiful from Echelon. They were getting just ran over by Fnatic CT side. There was one round towards the end of the first half where Echelon are rolling out, they're going through B main, trying to maybe work towards like a cave split, and just like 45 grenades come over the B wall by Fnatic and just carpet bomb these poor bastards. The overseer view of it from the outside perspective, it's just like getting decimated by grenades. You're trapped by smokes, trapped by molotovs, trapped by each other, and then Body, the in-game leader, swings to clean up all the low health fleshy targets right in front of him for an easy triple kill, and that was pretty much the story of the entire game for Eclot. Body went into Inferno with over 600 utility damage done in that first game. That's insane. 6 full kills worth of utility damage in a 13-4 game. Unreal. Now, of course, full credit to Eclot. because they bounced back very convincingly throughout the rest of the series. They battled Fnatic back to a 6-6 half on Inferno, and during their T side on the second half on Inferno, they played some legitimately good Counter-Strike. They played a very fast, frenetic, aggressive style, jumping through smokes, jumping Fnatic off guard, and Fnatic were very much in control of this game still to start off, but then they just slowly let themselves bleed around the margins. Some really unforgivable losses down the stretch where Fnatic were caught totally sleeping, and most of the time what would happen was a round would start, Eclat would just burst through A really fast, get 2 picks, and that would force Fnatic into a situation where they had to immediately save. The economy was too close, the A side retake is just too difficult, so Fnatic were forced into very fast saves so early into many of these rounds, and despite all of that, we were still in a very close position. Eclat have struck first, it's match point, it's a 10-12 scoreline, and after all of this successful A pressure, Eclat make a very honestly stupid call here and decide to play tempo towards B to change up the look. The problem is that they run into the wall of utility, they get utterly carpet bombed, Kriaz gets eviscerated off of the timeline. And now your players are split up, they're still trying to recover falling back on Banana, they've taken a bunch of unnecessary utility damage, and you're behind 5v4 trying to rotate into A. But as soon as Detour goes down with his extended position into apartments, you have to scramble back, try and work into a late B, Body's in a great position, boost up onto the oranges, and there's just not enough time, not enough utility, and you're playing 5v3 on Inferno. They just get crunched up. And at this point, going into the next round, let's just go ahead and pause for a second before the buys come in. I thought for sure that Eclat were going to choke and we're going into overtime. Surely, Fnatic are going to be able to hold things down for one more round. And then we fast forward a few seconds. Wait, why does Kriaz have a P90? Kriaz, you could have been dropped an AK. You guys have the money. Wait a minute. Why is there a P90 buy in a pivotal round of a must-win game at a major? No. They're not going to P90 rush. We're not about to see a P90 rush. We're about to see a P90 rush, aren't we? Now imagine me, right? It's late at night. I'm streaming. We're having a great time. But honestly, I want to get up in the morning because I got to work on this recap for you beautiful people. So I know I have to go to bed. I'm not going to be able to watch the end of this series if it goes to a third map. So I'm hoping to God in some way that Fnatic doesn't find a way to fuck up, go to overtime, finish the series in 2 games. And then Fnatic loses to a goddamn P90 rush. I mean, at this point, it's over. Fnatic deserve to lose. Like, they're rushing A with a P90 in the fucking major. Anyways, Eclat win the stupidest match point known to mankind. And yeah, we're going to a third map. It ends up going double overtime. Listen, credit to Eclat for staying as in the series as they did, pushing into overtime in the first place where they had to win 3 straight rounds at the end of their CT half. They stayed in this game as long as they possibly could. I am so happy the Fnatic didn't choke this. It would have been like Drilla's beating FlyQuest levels of embarrassing, if I'm being honest, considering the pedigree of team that Fnatic are. But they hold on. They won it on Nuke. BlameF was excellent. 33 kills, led the way. He's one of the best rated players of this RMR. I'm tired of the bait F narrative. They avoided destruction. I'm just frustrated that this game got that far because Fnatic should not have allowed Eclat to be this in the game. And that leaves us with just one more slot left for one lucky team to make it into the Shanghai Major, and I'm very happy to say that GamerLegion were the team to make it out of the rest of the group here, because GamerLegion went through everything. They had to win 4 consecutive best of 3s, the most of anyone who qualified to be able to make it into the major. All of them were not easy series, all of them went to 3 maps, and at many times GamerLegion looked to be over the edge of the abyss, but time and time again, they came back and battled back to play excellent fucking Counter-Strike. Now, we're at the point where I'm going to be honest, there's not much like in-depth analysis of individual moments from here on. I just want to talk broadly about GamerLegion because I feel like I haven't had a good chance to do it yet. ZTR has shown out in such a big way. He was someone who showed so much promise when he came up through NIP Academy. He had that really rocky place at Meta Sports where things weren't going well. He comes over to GamerLegion, who are an org who has been time and time again picked apart for his best pieces. And once again, they managed to find people that we just weren't even considering bring them all together, and GamerLegion have made another major. It's actually remarkable what this org has done. Ash, as the coach, owes so much of the credit because the way he's directed this team has been absolutely amazing. But again, ZTR specifically. We've known that ZTR could be one of the best in-game leader prospects coming up in Europe, but he has realized that potential. Behind Shuhei, I don't think there's anybody else in his age bracket in Europe that competes with ZTR. We're talking about, in terms of the world, it's him, Big Azera, and Shuhei as the next generation of great in-game leaders coming up right now, and they're all doing it in unique ways, but one thing that unifies them all is that they're all good players. They're all good enough individuals compared to the previous generation where there were so many more older in-game leaders who weren't really going to ever be good enough with the rifle in their hands. To contrast them, for example, when they eliminated Falcons, Stampy was awful in that series because he's never been a good individual player. ZTR doesn't share that quality. He's just incredible. He's super calm under pressure. He makes really smart rotates on the CT sides. He deleted the Falcons on Vertigo, deleted them on Mirage, and even when Falcons had them a very tough loss on Nuke, they bounced right back to finish the series. Again, GamerLegion haven't had any clean series, but they somehow managed to survive every single time. And it's because of players like Slend and Flamus as well. Flamus is unreal, dude. He's giving out Super Saiyan era quotes where it's like, listen, my teammates express their fear to me and I keep telling them, don't worry, I will neutralize that fear. I'll help you rise above. It's like we're in like a shonen anime. This guy's the main protagonist. We're going to band together with the power of friendship. And it worked. And to the shock of nobody, Flamus, another young Russian rifler who is incredibly so skilled at the game already, and the balls on this man, especially late in the series against BetBoom on Mirage, where he's just walking up mid in a must-win round, taking pre-fires into fucking Zorte, who's playing incredible with the opponent's hands, sitting his ass down and putting BetBoom on the back foot. He was so damn electric to watch in the back half of this tournament. Flamus is a name to watch going into next year, and I can only hope that GamerLegion don't get poached apart yet again, because this roster is so exciting. Maybe they need to replace Volt. Fair play, probably not that good of a piece, but Slend is great on the op. Towson is a great third player. He had plenty of electric moments himself. And just like the Disney storyline this team went through to get into, that's the big thing that sticks out to me. They come into the must-win 7th place decider against BB Team. They get absolutely devastated on Ancient. They were up 10-5, and all of a sudden, BB Team make a massive second half comeback, sweep the overtime, and beat GamerLegion 16-12 on the opener. After so many tech pauses, having to wait several hours to play your final series to see if you're in the major, GamerLegion get dealt a devastating, heartbreaking blow on the first map. They then walk up to Nuke and play one of the most efficient CT sides I have seen all year long. ZTR rotating around ramp, under, outside. He's everywhere. He's in the walls. He's top fragging as the in-game leader. What an awesome statement series, destroying BB Team 13-5. And then on Mirage, they followed up once again. But this time, BB Team are right back in it. It's a 6-6 first half. Things are getting so close on the second. Keep in mind, I've just woken up. It's 6:30 in the goddamn morning for me, and the tournament's still going on, which I was very confused about. But I got to watch the back half of this, and it was remarkable. And you got Flamus just on the CT side in a must-win series, going up mid. Nuts dragging in the dust behind him as he destroys BetBoom directly. Just awesome stuff from GamerLegion. Down 9-8 in an elimination game final map to winning 13-9. They're in the major. What an absolute story. And with that, we're done. Our 7 teams are in. We only have the remaining other European RMR. And next thing you know, in less than 2 weeks, we're looking at the actual major, the opening stage. I do have a little bit of thoughts about some of the teams who didn't qualify. I think BB Team actually played some really interesting CS pretty much all throughout the event. I thought Nafani was actually an excellent in-game leader through a lot of those games. I think they're just, a couple pieces short of being like an actual lineup, but they still played some interesting Counter-Strike. I'm definitely disappointed in Saw. They once again bomb out of a major in a pretty epic fashion. I'm still very concerned at the fact that they decided to cut arguably their third best player, certainly their second best rifler, and their very well tenured, very good coach, and opt in for someone entirely new, as well as a 5th player who had never played an international LAN as far as I'm aware. At least I think so. If not, he definitely doesn't have much experience, certainly not at a major. And that definitely held Saw back. I think Udrix and Story are really good, and it sucks that this roster wasn't what we saw at Cologne. It really is unfortunate. As for Falcons, Again, I am right once again as the smartest man to ever exist in the history of Counter-Strike. I called it. I knew Falcons weren't going to make the major. Everyone doubted me. And as for the Falcons, how's your oil money today, dickhead? Good luck signing Simple after this travesty. Remember, he's still on loan. I win. Anyways, I'm tired. We still have another RMR to go through. And then I get a week break. Thank God. Anyways, hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, Milan Berta, and Dr. Cocktor. If you want to support me directly, you can do so at the link in the description down below. Become a channel member today. You get an exclusive rank and role in my Discord. You also get the joy and wondrous feeling of giving me money. And could there be nothing better this holiday season? I think not. I'll also be co-streaming tonight. European RMRs be twitch.tv/LionHeartZ CS2. Come hang out. Thank you to PGL. You guys have a great day. Peace.